Hi everybody and welcome to another Flow Conversations. My name is Lenny and today I'm going to tackle a topic that we get quite a lot in tech support and inquiries from our website, and that is if Flow is just another reporting tool reporting on data. And I'm going to debunk a little bit of that myth by showing you the capability and what Flow actually does. Now the best way for me to handle this topic and to describe it is by looking at typical ways that people report on information. And that is typically whiteboards or Excel-based reporting systems that they utilize to do their reports on. Now, there's obviously a few problems with presenting data in whiteboards and in Excel files. And that is things that we at Flow Software want to start to address. Let's look at a little bit of an example. So here I've got an example of a whiteboard. I don't know if everything is broken in this scenario because the color scheme and the context to this doesn't really tell me that, right? It's red, so I don't know, maybe everything is broken, but the color and the context doesn't really tell me what the problem is. Another problem that I have here is that I can't really make a decision on this. They say that when you present information, you need to be able to make a decision in less than 30 seconds on what you need to do. And in this case, I cannot do that because on my brain, I need to do the calculations to actually understand what is going on here. A little other things that bug me is audibility, as well as just understanding what the figures are. If we look at that number there, I don't know if that's 2516 or 2576. So again, the information or the quality of the information might be questionable in the way that we report here. A little bit of another example, a little bit better, there's some color context, so I know exactly where the problems are. So obviously, problem was at 7 to 8, the actual was red there. But how does this compare historically? There's no way for me from a whiteboard to gain access to the historical information to actually see if there's maybe a problem with the beginning of the shift. So the correlation and the context between shift information and what's displayed here more as a real-time number is getting a little bit fuzzy because I don't have that historical view of the information. Now, how do we, from a Flow perspective, try to address this? Well, obviously we have the capability to connect with all these different data sources that we have on our plant floor. We can do the number crunching, we can automatically pull it in, we can do the calculations, we can add the context, we can do the contextualize, and we can push it out to reports and mobile phones and other systems that needs to have the data. But this is not what we sell. This is the how we do it, this is the technical bits in between, but this is not the reason why we've created the product. The reason why we do what we do, and this is what drives us every day when we start delivering solutions with the information platform, is this notion of we delivering a piece of information that you can trust. Why do I say we trust it? Because it's the single version of the truth. It's the single version of that number. You don't have to worry where it's coming from. You don't have to worry about the quality or if it's the right number. It's been calculated already for you. And we know that it is the right value at the right time at the right place for you to make a decision. We also sell the notion that you should be able to create your own KPIs. You should have the capability to create your own calculations. And it should be evolving all over the time. So you must have a tool that can actually do this very simply and very quickly, and really to have an agile approach in the way that you deliver your KPIs in your business. And it shouldn't take long. A KPI or a rollout of a specific report shouldn't be a massive waterfallish project that at the end of the project you get your 10 reports. It should be very quick. We should be able to connect to the data and have a very short time to value of showing what that KPI is so that you can start improving immediately on that KPI information. And very important, we're not a black box. We don't feel that it's right that people hold data hostage. So we've got an open architecture where the data and information that we capture and collate is available for other systems, other persons, and it needs to be shared with the organization. If we do not share the information in the organization, then our KPI and our digital transformation strategies is not going to work and it's not going to get off the ground. Now, a little bit of a technical thing around, yes, we can push the stuff via email, we can deliver it to your phone. That's actually not the point. The point is that we share the information. We share it to everybody in the organization. Doesn't matter what device he has. Doesn't matter what is his mechanism of receiving information. If it's his team notification or Telegram or an Outlook email. The point is that we need to start sharing the information and create dependency on the information for people to actually do their job, their daily job, because that's what they need to do. They don't need to have to worry of copying data from one system to another system to actually do their daily job. And very importantly, data is nothing without context. The only way that we can turn data into actionable information is by adding the context. And unfortunately, a lot of the context sits in different silos of information that we encounter in our businesses. So we have to have this capability to create context between these different disparate sources that we get in our plant environment. And at the end of the day, this is what we do. We don't sell a product. We don't sell software. We sell the capability for you to have information that you can actually have decisive actions on. We call it the concept of informed decision making, because that is the only way that you're going to drive your business forward. Now let's hear a little bit about our community. We had a poll. We asked our community, what do they think flow is? Or if they have to describe flow in just a few words, what would they say? Obviously the first one there, analytics for industrial operations, talks about the notion that we understand manufacturing data. This is where we play. This is where we are very strong. The link between your historian and your boardroom. I think this is probably my greatest quote that I got. And I love it because it has this notion of taking industrial data that's sitting untapped in our historians and making it available to everybody. From the boardroom exec to the shift supervisor in his little boardroom where he needs to conduct his shiftly meetings. Get away from the manual data, get away from the whiteboards, but have this option where you actually have this information immediately and available for you wherever you are to make your decisions. That's what I like very, very much. Time machine. It saves you time. We've got a lot of solutions where people had to manually collect data, manually collect data, manually get all the data into an Excel file that they can actually do the reporting on. It took them hours to do that. And the way that we do it with connecting to these different disparate systems, we can actually let you do your real job. And we save you time by doing that. And at the end of the day, you should be able not to be scared and not to be timid to try and do new things, new KPIs, new reports, new initiatives that's going to save you money at the bottom line. So we have to have something that's easy so that you can go and drag and drop and do your own KPI reporting. So we have to make it simple for people to turn mass amount of data into quality of information. And that is what this last quote is all about. It's really about that you should be able to do this yourself. Right. So how is flow different then? If you think about it, I could have taken that whiteboard or my Excel file, whatever it is. I could have pushed the data into a database. I could have used a reporting tool and just created a report. It's served in the website. It's digital. So what is the difference? Why do we say that flow is then completely different from any other reporting tool? Now, there's a few things that flow does a little bit different from traditional reporting. I'm going to explain it to you in these architecture slides here. Now, traditional reporting, you have your data sources and you have your clients. Clients can be already web, can already be mobile, can already have the capability to do dashboards and reports and charts. But the thing with traditional reports is if you've got data sitting in silo of information A, you're going to connect directly to it. If you have data in silo number B, you're going to connect directly to it. Where's the context between the different silos of information? So that's a big problem with traditional reporting. And the more people opening it up, the more people pulling the reports, the more people pulling the dashboards, it's every time a hit and a connection to those disparate data sources. And it might overload them, and you actually get a very, very bad user experience trying to pull the data. So what we see with traditional reporting is the following. There's no model. And when we talk about a model, we're talking about this concept that I should not care from which data source the data comes. I should not care where the information is coming from. I should have a model that is the decoupling of the actual information that I require and the source of where the data is coming from. You guys have probably heard about a whole bunch of concepts about the unified namespace of data ops. There's another buzzword in the operation. This is exactly that. It's having that information model to decouple it from there. Unified namespace, great concept. Talking about the real-time data, at Flow we're talking about the information layer of that. So create a unified namespace and an information to do that decoupling from where the information coming from and who needs to receive it. There's no structure. You need to write your queries yourself. You need to create that context, and person A is going to probably do it different from person B and from person C. You hit these data sources multiple times. Every time you render the report, you're going to hit it. Every time you need to do a calculation, you're going to hit it. Every time you need to add context, you're going to hit it. So from a performance perspective, it is not that great. The next thing we talk about is data cleanliness. How do you clean the data? We need to aggregate the data. We need to apply ETL process, extract, transform, and load on the data to actually turn that mass amount of data into information. So we have to have the capability to clean the data. And again, you can clean the data with a traditional reporting tool. You're just going to do it every time you request the data from those sources. Again, you aggregate on the fly, you calculate on the fly. We've seen this a lot, that you look at a number today, tomorrow you look at exactly the same number and the calculations or the value is different. There's no auditability on why that is, because every time that calculation is written or created on the fly. And there's no context to it as well, or limited context, because you need to create the context yourself. No versioning. Because I open it again every time, I have to run the calculations every time. So was the value different from yesterday's answer? I don't know, because there's no versioning that's applied here as well. Now, how do we do it a little bit different at Flow? At Flow, again, we do have this concept of different data sources, but we add a layer in between the raw data and the actual part of delivering the information. And that's where our secret sauce are. Yes, we can also do reports. We can also do dashboarding. We can also serve it in an HTML5 browser. But we've got a reporting model that's now also secure, and you can deliver certain pieces of information to certain people in the organization. But this is where the magic happens. It's this layer that we add that decouples the user from the actual silos of information. All right. We only hit the data source once, so we will hit it one time. We will create the context. We will do the cleaning of the data. We will do the aggregation, and we store the result already in our little operational data store. So the big thing about Flow is that we have this operational data store that already has the data contextualized, cleaned, and aggregated, ready now to be either displayed on a dashboard or report, or be made available to other systems that might need to have that data. And then obviously when users pull that data, they don't pull it from the raw source. They just pull it from the layer in the center here that's already available for you to make your decisions on. So how does it differ from comparing it to the list of the traditional reporting? We have this concept of the information model. We have this notion that we create a model that will decouple the user from where the data is coming from. We give context to it. We give structure to that information. We abstract it. You don't have to know which tag in which historian is the steam output for a boiler. We already do that abstraction layer for you, so that when you look at the data, you look at steam output. If you look at steam output on site A, you look at steam output on site B, it's exactly the same thing. You are decoupled from it. You don't care if it comes from historian A at one site and from a SQL data source at site C and from a manual data entry at site D. That's not the point. The point is that it's one single way that we go and look at the data. Right. We're also calendar aware. What do we mean with that? In a traditional report, if you want to look at daily data, what does that mean? Is it from midnight to midnight? Is it from 6 to 6 in the morning? Is it from 7 to 7? Even worse, what is a shift? Is a shift 6 to 6, 7 to 7? And what if there's a seasonal change? We see this a lot in the food and bev industry. That potentially from next week we're going to run a different shift pattern. What do? You have to phone the guy to come and change the report because they had to hard code that shift and time kind of context into the reporting. We have to have a way that we can quickly do it ourselves. We have to have a way that we can assign that calendar context to the data without having to hard code it inside of a reporting solution. As I mentioned, we clean the data on the fly. It's not when you pull the data that we clean it. We clean it periodically, we save the result, and it's all available for you to view on your reporting solution. We contextualize it, we evaluate it, so we version it up, so there's a full-on audit trail of the value as well. We store it in our database. You can add even comments to it. So those little manual comments that you saw on the whiteboard, you can add those comments inside of the solution, and it's contextualized with a value and with a version of that value inside of the Flow database. So the magic sauce here is this operational data store that we keep intact, that we keep up to date, and that we keep with the right information that you can make your information or your decisions around. You don't have to double check and have to worry what those numbers are. And that's it. That's how Flow is a little bit different from normal reporting. I hope you guys enjoyed this session, and I'm sure to catch you again in another Flow conversation section. Thanks, everybody.